All right, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Joy Talley. I first met Joy back in 1972. I was a young man then, and I was really interested in Edgar Cayce work and had been so impressed. And I wondered if there were other psychics who could do the same type of, I just didn't know anything about if any other people could do what he was doing. And I heard about this woman named Joy Talley, who was a psychic. And I made an appointment, and I went to see her strictly as a scientific experiment myself, because I'm into that, just to see if there's any validity to this, because I'd always been brought up to believe that this was all, it was impossible, right? And the rational mind would tell us that. So I go see Joy, and I go in this room. There's a picture of Jesus, and she lights a candle and does her cards, and anyway, I was really nice, and then she said, "Can I borrow your watch?" And she borrowed my watch, and she says, "I can tell." And this was April. I can remember it was right during the Easter week of 1972. She said, "I can tell that last September and October you had a major crisis in your life." And my heart skipped a beat because I'm thinking, how could she know that? I had an emotional thing going on then. It wasn't anything, but anyway, it was like I remembered what happened, and she couldn't. And she told me, and I said, "Holy smokes!" And all she knew about me was my initials and my date of birth when I walked in. Never met me before. So right then I started thinking there's got to be something to this. And that by the time I walked out of her office 30 minutes later, I was a believer. And I have been a believer ever since. And ever since then, when I've had problems in my life, maybe once every couple of years, I'd go see Joy Talley. And a couple of years ago, we started becoming personal friends. And we've been over to our house many times for dinner now. And I feel a real closeness, and Marty does too, and many of us do, to Joy. And so Joy is I view her as our mentor, our elder for all of us at this church. So Miss Joy, please come on up. There you go.
Good afternoon. I'd like today to talk about attitudes. And I'm 88, going 80 on 88 and a half, and sometimes I get stinking thinking instead of an attitude of gratitude. And when I get stinking thinking, I'm thinking about all the things I've lost instead of all the things I still have. And I found out doing this, it's very important for me to get a checkup from the neck up every couple of months to see if I have to have an attitude adjustment. Get rid of the stinking thinking and have an attitude of gratitude. We create our own stress and trauma, and I feel like I've got a great imagination. And, we lose people that we love, and then you think about what could have been and why am I here and they're gone, and that's stupid thinking. And I just think, well, what I feel in my readings, how you think determines how you act determines how others react to you. And for years I've been doing a checkup from the neck up every couple of months to see if I have hardening of the attitudes. It's so easy to get stinking thinking instead of an attitude of gratitude. And if you don't keep talking to yourself, I keep a journal and have for years, and every day I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. But sometimes you lose sight of what you're grateful for. I lost a son, and we expect to outlive our parents. We don't expect to outlive our children. And sometimes it's a real hard death to deal with. And he was a piece of work, though, when he was alive. If there's any Tauruses here, you would know what I'm talking about, because stubborn, hard-headed, if you said to him, "Don't touch the stove, you'll get burned," he wouldn't just touch it, he'd put both hands on it. And I just feel with, I'm 88, I'm going to work till I'm 100. And I think retiring at a young age is kind of not so good. Because then you have too much time to think, too much time to worry. And I get up in the morning and I tell myself to put pep in my step, get off my pity pot, look up to God, and check out my priorities. You know, it's our thoughts that cause us pleasure or pain, happiness or unhappiness. And I've learned since I've lost like a husband and a son, you can get on your pity pot feeling sorry for yourself so easy if you don't keep aware of what your goals are and what you're doing. And I keep telling myself, God first, family second, and work third. The good news is I'm going to Mexico in October with my great-grandson, who'll be 3 this November. And he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And when you think about he's got his whole future, he can make it whatever he wants to make it. I was raised in Canada, you know, where lots of snow, a lot of snow. And my father was not good at money management. As a matter of fact, he was the pits. And, you know, I learned, well, because of that experience, I came to the United States when I was 17, and because of the poor management, he was a machinist and had his own business. Every Friday, he was running around to make payroll. Like Friday comes after Thursday every week. Would you believe that? I mean, big surprise. You know, for him it was a big surprise. And you know, some people take stupid pills. Did you know that? And I keep reminding myself to have an attitude of gratitude and drop the stinking thinking in the trash. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But I was raised in a family of psychics in London, Ontario. And I had aunts and they saw spirits. And I see spirits. And I just, 10 days before my husband died, I saw him dying. Didn't change anything, and we talked about that he was going to die, and I came home. At that time, I worked on Mediterranean Avenue, and I came home from work, and he was dead in his recliner. And, you know, even though I saw it 10 days earlier, it was still a shock. And I found that when you come face to face with someone else's death, you come face to face with your own death. Only when we learn to understand death, I feel, do we really learn how to live. So now, since he's gone, I take my kids on a trip every year, and we're going to Mexico in October. So I hope everybody doesn't sit around and wait till you die, and put pep in your step and greet every day with a great heart and an open mind. Problems I've learned in life are habits. If you choose a negative habit, you pay the price. A positive habit, you enjoy the price. And if you have family members and you look at their pattern or their habits, you can actually predict their future. How you live today determines your tomorrows. An example, procrastination is the enemy of good luck. So good luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Bad luck is when an opportunity presents itself and you're not prepared. So people actually set themselves up to fail. And if you know what your birthday is and what year of changes, this year is a year of changes for Aries and Libra. Next year it'll be Gemini and Virgos. And whenever you have a year of changes, it starts July of the year before through December 31st of the following year. So every 9 years you have this year of changes, which can be good, bad, or indifferent. I like doing psychic readings because I meet wonderful people. And sometimes you can help people. Sometimes people have selective hearing. And, they have stinking thinking too when they have selective hearing. And it's good to have an attitude of gratitude. We create our own future. I saw my husband's death 10 days before he died, and we talked about it, and it didn't help when he died. It was still a shock. It was devastating. And I don't know why I saw that vision, and I wonder, even these many years later, why it happened. But if you ask God why, you're looking for an argument. So far, God hasn't given me an argument. He is what he is. And he's always right. So I work on putting pep in my step, have an attitude of gratitude. When stinking thinking comes into my mind, I really work diligently at getting. Do you ever get stinking thinking? Most people, I think, if you say you never get it, I think you're lying to yourself. I think we all do it. And it can be because we want someone to do something and they don't. And, God is good. God doesn't make mistakes and he doesn't make junk, but he gives us the power of choice. And our choices make all the changes in the world. This year is a year of changes for Aries and Scorpios. Starting July last month through December 31st of next year, the year of changes is Gemini and Virgos. Aries and Gemini and Virgos. So if you're any Gemini and Virgos here, you'll know you're coming into a big change. Getting older is a real challenge. I find that I give myself a talk in the morning. The first thing I say, put pep in your step, get an attitude of gratitude, dump your stinking thinking, and get moving. And I give my same pep talk every morning. Some days it works better than other days. And the people that come into our life, I was talking with my daughter this morning about my younger sister, Beverly. She went blind somewhere in her 30s. And she was a psychic in London, Ontario. And she could see, she was blind as bad, but she could see spirits. And I don't know how she did that, but whatever. She also had 4 marriages. And she was never happy. Never happy. And she was a Libra. And when you worry about what other people are doing or what other people have and you don't have, then you can get depressed or unhappy. But if you just dwell on your own life without goals is like a ship without a captain. You're just drifting. And, I haven't given a talk in quite a while. And I think I'm rambling, but, the truth is always the truth. And I just learned life without goals is like a ship without a captain. And we keep needing to change our goals. And the older I get, the dumber I get. It's just really amazing. As you get older, you think about all the things you don't know and all the mistakes. I try not to do this, go back and see all the mistakes I made, which was really plenty. And I wished I had been nicer to my husband. He woke up smiling, he went to bed smiling. When I first met him, He was walking on the beach, and he had hair all over his chest and back. I'm hairless, and he had all this hair. And he looked like a gorilla to me. I mean, he didn't act like a gorilla, thank you God, but he looked like one. And, you know, I ended up marrying him, and I was married 55 years. But my first impression was, all of that hair. It just, have you thought about marriage? It's easy to get married. It's not easy to stay married. The three sides, it's his side, her side, and the truth. Did you know that people who make a decision to get married get divorced? People that make a commitment to marriage stay married. And there's a big difference between decisions and commitments. I read people that get married 3 or 4 times. They keep repeating a pattern. You know, like if you're a water sign, and which is Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, and you marry a fire sign, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, too much fire makes the water boil. Too much water puts out the fire. They have to take each other in small doses. And if you put a pot between the two of you, you can have tea for two. But, you know, they don't teach you this in school. They really don't. And I think it's good to have that information because too many people today I read people and they have 3 or 4 marriages. And I only had one. We separated 7 times. We signed divorce papers twice. He was an angel. He woke up smiling. He went to bed smiling. And I don't know what my challenge was, but I wouldn't be married to me if I was the last woman on earth. You know, I'm an Aquarius, and Aquarians walk to their own drummer. They're always square pegs trying to fit into a round world. And he was a Scorpio. He was honest, he was loyal, he was fabulous. And it took me years, maybe, I was married 55 years when he died, and I think it took at least 30 years before I really learned how to appreciate him and tell him how great he was. And I learned after, I think it was 30 years, every day then I started telling him 7 things that I loved about him, that he did, that I really liked and respected. And, you know, he woke up smiling. It's amazing. When you have an attitude adjustment, get rid of your stinking thinking, everything changes. And he woke up smiling. He went to bed smiling. I came home from work, and he was dead in his recliner, you know how the police come and everything. And they said you can tell how a person dies by their expression on their face. And he was peaceful. So God is so good. And I think, I feel that we all create our own destiny and our own pain and we can blame people, places, and things if we want to. But I've learned in my experience, the day I learned to say I am fully responsible for my unhappiness was the day I could say I'm fully responsible for my happiness. Because I get real squirrely at times. You know, I think the person we're most dishonest to is ourselves. And I've changed so much over the years. And I'm still changing. You know, life's a journey, it's not a destination. And the people I've learned that cause you the most pain actually teach you the most lessons. Through suffering, we get to know God. Through suffering, it brings us to our knees where we experience God. When we try to do things on our own, we mess everything up. And I've learned through trial and error, self-honesty is the key to spiritual unfoldment. And I didn't even realize how dishonest I was in my early years of marriage. But looking back, I could have been so much better and nicer. But I keep telling myself, yesterday is a canceled check. Tomorrow's a promissory note. Today's the only cash on hand. Spend it wisely. You know, if you dwell on the negative, you can go crazy. You could have suicide or nervous breakdown or whatever. And we do it to ourselves. I see this all the time. I didn't know what I was going to talk about today. And so I thought, well, I'll just talk about my journey. I came to the United States when I was 17, dumb as all get out. And I got my American papers. And I met my husband shortly after I came to Virginia Beach and just settled in. And there's no accidents. I feel it was all part of my destiny, that what happened was what was supposed to happen. And I don't have any regrets. I wished, if any of you are married, I hope you're really good to your spouse, because after they die, it's too late. And there's so many things I could have changed. And he went to bed smiling, he woke up smiling. He was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he married what I call a bitch on wheels. You know, don't you wonder how somebody can be so nice and marry somebody so yucky? But it happens all the time. You always get one nice one and then have this other one. The good thing is he was a Scorpio, and he just thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Little did he know. You know, I just, when you think about marriage, I think I'm rambling, but getting married is easy, staying married isn't easy. The three sides is his side, her side. What are you doing?
10 minutes.
10 minutes what?
You got 10 minutes left.
Oh, I do? So are you going to tell me when 10 minutes are over?
No, we got 10 more minutes.
Pardon?
You have 10 more minutes.
Oh, yeah, but will you tell me when it's up?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I talk all the time when I'm working. You know, I can just go on and on and on like a... whatever, you know. I believe in reincarnation. And I see how our past lives so often predict our own future in this lifetime. I had one grandmother that came from England, my mother's parents, with 12 children, and they came to Canada. Can you imagine coming on a boat with 12 kids? Don't you think it's insanity? But they stayed in London for the rest of their life. And you look at where you come from and how you end up in Virginia Beach. It's life's a journey, it's not a destination. And I think there are no accidents or coincidences, that we just get on a path and we have detours, we make mistakes. And, you know, we can have regrets if we want to, and beat ourselves up. Or we can say it's a learning experience. Life is an education. And through trial and error, you get to be better and stronger. My goal in life is to work until I'm 100. I plan on retiring February the 6th. 2031, 100. Then I'll just lay down and go to sleep. Yeah. Do you think it's possible that you can? It is possible?
Both of my parents did that.
Pardon?
Both of my parents were healthy. The doctors told them they would live another 15 or 20 years. They both died at 87. They both they chose the time, and they gave themselves like 23 hours, and they were gone. There was no reason for them to have died.
Well, why did they want to die at 87? I mean, you're a spring chicken at 87.
My dad had Alzheimer's, and
Alzheimer's.
And so when he had his lucid moments, the last thing he said that 23 hours before he died was, "This is a horrible existence." And he was told, that week that he was so healthy that he would probably live to be well over 100.
But he didn't want
He
to.
didn't want to. He was in
Right.
an Alzheimer's unit.
I do think that's true, that I think we can predict our own.
We should all choose to live to 100 because fewer people die at that age.
Oh, fewer people die at 100?
Yes, that's why we should all choose to.
Really?
Yes.
So are you putting pep in your step? Do you have stinking thinking or an attitude of gratitude?
Every now and then, but minimal. I'm not perfect.
Pardon?
I am not perfect by any stretch. I got these people around here pulled pretty good.
But I'm going to tell you, you spell men, you know how you spell men, M-E-N. The first two letters spell me, and that's the story of men, me. When a man gets married, I really think this is true. When they get married, they expect their wife to take over from where their father left off, and they get disillusioned. And I think men think that they're going to marry Susie Sunshine. She's going to wake up and wait on them hand and foot. It's delusional. It's good to get married, but staying married is a piece of work. And there are people who make a decision. I don't know if you know this, but people that make a decision to get married get divorced. People that make a commitment to marriage stay married. When you get married, the most important, really important question is, can you love this person, be happy with them exactly as they are today? What you don't like prior to marriage, you multiply by 100. When you think about it, it's a little blister on your foot that creates the problem, not the whole foot. So the little things. In 1966, my father-in-law called up. He learned that I was a psychic, and this was boogie or something anyway. And he told my husband I was no longer welcome in their home. And my husband said, who was wonderful, if Joy's not welcome, I'm not welcome. And so they lived in Norfolk, we lived in Virginia Beach. My husband never once blamed me or said it was horrible that he gave up his parents. He did go to the funeral. But I don't know what he thought, being a psychic meant. I sometimes wonder what people think about that. I come from a family of psychics, and my aunts read cards and tea leaves. When we were 4 or 5 years old, we would drink hot tea with the tea leaves, and they'd pass a teacup around, and my sisters and I would read the tea leaves. We never asked did we want to or could we just did it. Oh, now, look at, he's telling me now I have 5 minutes. Okay, you're going to tell me what 5 minutes is up? Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, wonderful. Did you know your aura is off balance today? Yeah. Do you think you need to put pep in your step?
Sure.
Well, I mean, and do you know why it's off balance?
No.
You really don't? Oh, because it showed there was 2 legal issues you were concerned about.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's a good answer, not yet, right.
Somebody else want to hold up the side?
What did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I said, does somebody else want to hold up the side?
Life's a journey, it's not a destination. And wouldn't it be boring if everything just worked out beautiful? I really think through suffering we get to know God. Through suffering it brings us to our knees where we experience God. And we always pray more and work harder at growing spiritually, or for me, this has proven true. It seems when I get stinking thinking, something knocks me off my feet and I have to get an attitude of gratitude. And it's, we let things bother us. When we react negatively to another person, we give them the power to tell us should we have a good day or a bad day. We give them the power to tell us how to think in our life, and we should never give our power away. I raised my daughters, oh, are they bossy. They've become my parent, and they tell me how to do everything. But it's good because they take good care of me. Did you know that a mother is only as happy as her unhappiest child? And when your children are happy, you're happy. If they're upset, you become upset. And as they get older, we're powerless over them, powerless to change them. If you could all learn to see auras, then you can tell, are they having a good day or a bad day? Do they have stinking thinking or an attitude of gratitude? And it's very easy to get stinking thinking. I didn't know what I was going to talk about today, so I just talked about everything. Well, life is full of everything, don't you think? And this is, I don't know how I can tell you if this will happen, but my goal is when I'm 100, February 6, 2031, I'm just going to lay down and go to sleep and not wake up. Do you think it's possible?
Yes.
I do too. Right. I'm glad you're all in agreement, right? But that's a long ways away, and I'm working right till I die. Yeah, I think retirement is a dirty word. When you stop working, you stop growing and you stop learning. And I think doing something you want to do, you like to do, is the greatest gift on earth. And God is great. And I'm going to close. Now, is that okay? You don't have to put up another sign. Yeah. All right. You didn't have to throw it on the floor. Right. Thank you.